What's up, guys? Welcome to the weekend episode. So this is our Saturday and our Sunday of being here in the shop with the car. I have no idea what we're gonna get done. We're gonna finish mounting the body panels. We should finish the wide bodying, and then we should shave a bunch of the emblem stuff off, so that should be pretty cool. Other than that, I got no clue what's gonna get done, but I hope it's a lot. I hope it's a lot of stuff. So stay tuned. We'll find out together. Today, Jeff and I started our day by going and getting some Z parts. So I found this door on Craigslist. It's a really good condition door. There's a little bit of rusting and a little bit of cracking right here. It doesn't even really look too bad. It looks plenty repairable. And then a little crack right back here in the sheet metal, or at least we think that's cracked. I'll confirm with this door before I fix it, but I think I'm gonna start today by cleaning up those two little areas very quickly, and then I think I'm gonna hand that over to Jeff to change out all the internals so we can get the nice window frame and all the door latchy goodness into our new orange door, and then we'll be able to mount it on the car. Jeff also did me a solid and went and picked me up a fender that we found from a friend of a friend, and this is really straight fender, except I don't know, it looks dented a little bit right here. Hard to tell. But the thing that's really worried me is that this paint has got a lot of bubbling. You can see even on camera the amount of texture that it's carrying around with it. If that's rust underneath that, this is a garbage panel and we wasted our time and our money. So I need to sand off all the surface paint and figure out what's underneath that and what was causing that. If we can just sand it off flat and we're down to bare metal and it looks clean, that'd be a really good thing. But if it's not and there's any signs of rust under there, we are back to square one on this panel, which would be a real big bummer. Good news, bad news situation. Door cleaned up really nicely. I was able to, we looked at this door and found out that this isn't supposed to attach right here, but then since there was like a big hole right here, and I was able to weld all that, back to itself. So that's all good. And then I cleaned up this joining part right here so they're connected to each other too. So we'll get a layer of primer over that before too soon, and that's good. And this piece, I assume since the front piece doesn't connect, it doesn't look like that piece is supposed to connect either. I don't think you guys can even see that, but there's a tiny little slot right there. On to the bad news. The fender we got is totally gacked. I'm guessing the guy that sold it to me didn't know that these bubbles under the skin of the paint or under the surface of the paint normally mean rust underneath. It's pretty common when you see it like on a quarter panel or anything at the bottom, you see bubbling. And then when the paint comes off, you get something that looks like that. There's rust and chips and stuff like that. So I sanded off in a few spots. I sanded through a couple layers of paint, and you can see that there's rust and pitting underneath, right when you get underneath the paint. Obviously, rust underneath the paint is a no-go. So this whole entire fender has cancer over its entire surface. You can see there's bubbling absolutely everywhere in the paint job. So Jeff picked this up on the way to me, and Jeff doesn't work on cars for a living, so he didn't know the signs of it. And I don't know if the guy that sold it to him knew the signs of it. Yeah, we're probably going to be trying to get our money back, and unfortunately that sets us back to square one for trying to figure out a fender. The only good part about this fender is that it is straight, so we could probably use it to test mount the other things that we need to and get it set on the body right and build the fender mounts. But then other than that, it's garbage. All right, we've got our marching orders. Jeff is swapping out the interior pieces of the doors. So everything that's in this door and makes up this door is going into the orange door. Eric is working on putting our new fender on the car because it's straight, so he can build the fender mounts and everything like that, and then when we get our replacement, we'll just slap it on there and carry on. I am going to start working on the pieces that we need to make flush, shave, gap holes, whatever you want to call it. So for instance, I'm going to go cut a piece of metal that size out of sheet metal and then sand around here, and then we'll tack weld it in and get that in there. Same goes for here, same goes for here. There's a bunch of these little holes around the car that we're no longer using, so they all got to get filled. right, Jeff has disassembled everything out of this door, the trim, the windows, the everything, the latching mechanisms, the door latch, everything. And he's in the process of putting it all back in our new perfect orange door, which I'm really stoked about. And that's coming along great. We also have a lot of the new rubber gaskets and stuff in a box over there that we got a long time using Honey a long time ago. So that should, hopefully we'll have some of the new rubbers for around that door. While that was going on, Eric has mounted the demo fender and it's looking great. That's our body gap. So the next thing he's gonna do is go ahead and pull off the hood and fully weld in the tabs for both fenders. And while that was going on, I've been back here cutting out the sheet metal to fill our holes. So I bored this out a little bit so it's perfectly round, and then I got that piece for that, and then there's one of each of these, one of those on each side, so I have two of those, and then I have two of these, one for each of those sides. So now I'm gonna start sanding the paint down around those, getting them down to bare metal, and doing a little bit of welding. Eric just finished mounting the fenders, so he welded these supports up on both sides. These are TIG welded all around here, and then we have the mounts that come off of the strut tower that mount the rest of the radiator, and then obviously, or radiator, fender, and then obviously there's more bolts on the back side of it. So the fenders are 100% done now, which is awesome, and Eric's going to start working on the pretty insane idea that we have of how to hold the hood on here. We only want to have the 2 pins in the back, so the hood's going to slot on to this piece of tubing, slot on, and then come down. And it's a pretty trick method that we came up with, and I think it's going to be awesome. Jeff has got the door window frame back in the new door, and he's just chugging along on getting the window track and the window back in there. And I've got one of these fully welded in, so that's shaved now. And then this one. Now I'm realizing that we are gonna have to put a layer of body filler over all of these, so I might not fully weld these all up like this because the body filler is gonna have to go over this anyway, so you don't really need it to be 100% welded in. But we'll see. I'll do maybe one more pass on this and then probably fully weld that one in and then move over to the other side. All right, Sunday morning update. So we wrapped up the day yesterday by me warping the hell out of this body panel. This is what I warn you guys about all the time. Putting too much heat into a panel can warp it. I jacked up this panel, it's bent in here and here, and we're gonna try and salvage that later today. If not, that means a crap load of body work for me to do in the next upcoming week, which would just be a huge bummer. We got that flush, this one's done down here, and then on the other side, I'm gonna do the antenna next, and then we have this one's good, and I used a lot less heat on that one, which is good too. It still needs a little bit of sanding, but that one's good. Jeff's continuing to work on the door. Oscar's here this morning, and he is finishing up our trans tunnel. That's actually, he just got basically the last piece. That makes the whole body of it. There's gonna be some fine touches to do around the way, but that's that. And then you guys saw in the time lapse, Eric built these posts with the hinging mechanism in there. Mounted this tube across the front of our hood, so it slots in there like that, and then as that closes down, it lands on the hood latches and closes, and that holds the hood into the car. And then if we want to take the hood off, we just slide it forward, lift it out, and the hood comes off the car. Because like when we drive to Ignited and stuff, we'll probably do it with no hood so people can see that we have a front mid-engine V10 in this car. So that's pretty good. And when Eric gets here, we'll be working on mounting the rest of the front end stuff so we can get the bumper on there. Once we get the bumper on there, I can cut and mount the Rocket Bunny wide body. Oscar just wrapped up welding in the trans tunnel, so that's how it's going to look. And then what we do is we put seam sealer over it, which is seam sealer is like a goop. It's like caulking almost, and then it dries up pretty hard, adds a little bit more structure to it, but then also just keeps everything air and water tight for us. So the next thing he's doing is mounting the shifter in there, so when we put our center console in there, the shifter lands in the exact right spot, and we don't have to worry about that anymore, which is great. Jeff is fiddling with the window track because it is being a pain. And then on the other side, you guys saw that I finished shaving the antenna thing, so now I'm going to move on to the cowl. I need to cut out pieces and then weld them into the cowl right here and here to cover up our windshield wiper holes. So Oscar just finished mounting up our shifting position, or well, the shifter actually. We tested it all out. Oscar had an interesting time getting it back out, but it's out now, so that's all good. Jeff hung the door. You can see Oscar's leaning on over there. So the door is all done over there. That's awesome. We have new door cards going on the inside of those doors, so we're not even going to put the crappy vinyl interior back on. Now Jeff is working on cleaning up all the trim for us. So you can see he just got done doing that whole bottom section over here, and now he's jumping into the windshield, getting all the trim cleaned up and ready for us for paint. Meanwhile, Eric is working on the headlight buckets. Slow and steady wins the race for Eric over here.
We're done now.
Yeah, man, let's get that bumper on there today, huh? And then I'm over here. I got the cowl done. Now, I didn't fully weld these in because we were really worried about warping the cowl. So this is going to be a little bit of fiberglass or Bondo body filler to make sure that we get that smoothed out. Next thing I'm going to jump on, I'm going to go ahead and weld in a stud here, pull this out, and then we're going to heat and cool this a couple times and try and get some of the warping out of this. Actually change the plans. Body panels are going to have to wait. Oscar and I are going to figure out how to, well, we're going to get these seats to the setting that we need, the preferred setting. We're going to connect them, the two pieces together, and then Oscar's going to build seat brackets. We're going to have seats in the car soon. This is exciting for me. All right, we got the bumper on and it's looking pretty promising as far as flowing with the fenders. One interesting thing is that this is not at an angle or anything that like fits onto the bucket. So it's just kind of some more Rocket Bunny-ness, them being them. So Eric's gonna go ahead and take the bumper off then and notch this and trim this so it can go up flush to the bucket and then come around on the outside. So we're gonna do that on both sides, and then Eric's gonna build mounts for the headlights around. That way they'll stay solid, since these buckets hold the whole front bumper structure except for the stuff that we're gonna build later on in the bottom. So Eric's in the process of making these brackets. You wanna show him how that kind of line up? So it comes off of that piece over to there, ties into our hood bracket, which will make that even stronger, and then from there we're going to build the tab that will hold the headlight bucket in the right spot. Almost said the wrong spot. Oscar is in the process of building our seat brackets. We got our seats assembled, and then he's going to build us seat brackets. Jeff has cleaned all the trim around the windows so that when we go into paint, we can just paint over all that stuff with the primer. We'll do a little bit more touch-up work in here, clean that up with a little rust reformer. Spray primer over all of that, and then we'll be ready to seal our windows in. And I had mediocre luck fixing this panel. It's a little bit better, but also a little bit more wobbly. So we're gonna have to sand out this whole area and body filler and fix that up. But this corner did fix up real nicely. So I'm gonna weld this hole shut and then grind that down smooth. So the, what was that thing called? The slide hammer with the little tabs in there that actually worked really well. So that's pretty cool. All right, we lost Oscar and Jeff for the rest of the day, but Eric and I are going to keep going. So Jeff went around all the trim and cleaned it all up, got all the gunk and anything bad off of there, except for this side of this door arch. And then anywhere where there was rust or anything, he put this stuff on there, which is like the rust, stops rust from spreading or anything like that. It's kind of a rust converter stuff. So that's awesome. He got this whole rear hatch done and all the kick panels and everywhere else. So that's all ready to be sanded and prepped for paint now. Eric got the front end completely mounted up. So headlight buckets, fenders, hood, everything is done now, which is super, super cool. You guys saw these angled brackets and stuff that are under here. And then we were looking at the grill, and Eric's gonna be building a grill, which I'll show you at a later time. And we're gonna make a little bit more aggressive grill than this that also fits from here to here, because we don't have we're not gonna run that fake fiberglass bumper that comes with the kit, because that thing's stupid. Oscar was over here working on reinforcing where we're gonna mount the seat. So the seat, you don't want to mount the seat without the floor pan, but you do need to reinforce underneath. So that's what Oscar is doing here with this material. Is coming down, over, and stuff like that. So then we'll cut the sheet metal for the floor pan that'll go in here, and then we'll already have our positions where we're going to put the seat brackets in, and they will connect into these things right here so we can mount the seat. While they were doing that, I was bending a harness bar. The harness bar runs from this part of the main hoop around into the other one, and it has to stick out a little bit to give a little bit of room for the seat. So that's the next thing Eric and I are gonna start working on. We're gonna test fit the harness bar, cut it to size, cope it, and weld it in here. We've got our harness bar bent and cut out, and so now is a really hard part of coping it. It's going to take a very long time. We can't use the coping tool because it's got too many different angles and bends to it, so it's got to be done by hand. While Eric's doing this, I'm going to jump over here, and this is a trash fender anyways, but I'm going to go ahead and mark and cut it out, use it as a demo piece, and cut it for the Rocket Bunny wide body fender flare. First cut for the over fender went great, but I'm going to do another pass and bring it up even higher. That'll allow us to lower the front down even more, because a lot, like the over fender goes to like right here or so we don't need a lot of that material. I'm going to go ahead and take another pass off. This is what our harness bar looks like in the car. It looks great. Eric's got it TIG tacked in, and now he's going to go ahead and TIG weld it all the way around so it'll look really pretty, and we'll have our harness bar done. The Rocket Bunny over fender in the front is on the garbage fender. But here's one good thing. Other than the fact that it kind of dives in right here, needs to come out more, which we're probably not going to be able to do because just this is Rocket Bunny fitment for you. Other than that, it does line up very nicely with the bumper, which means that Eric did a great job of just mounting the front end overall. Bumper to fender connection is really good, and the over fender to fender connection is really good too. So that is as it needs to be. I need to do the same on the other side, but that's all good. And coming back here, Eric TIG welded in the harness bar. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus on it. And obviously Eric's welds look amazing, so that is awesome. And it goes right back there. And then I threw the seat in for some reference, so that's how it's gonna go. You're gonna have the two backs of the harness kind of bundled up there, and they go through the back of the seat over there and in to the driver's shoulders, basically. Next up on the agenda, we got these back braces. This is the last piece to our roll cage. So you got one bar that comes from up there, goes down to here, and then we're gonna have another one that crosses down through that bar and down into there. It's gonna cross brace the car for torsional support. And like I said, that finishes the roll cage, so we're gonna get it done tonight. Let's do it. Back support bar is welded in, so we had to do a lot of build up down there. Eric's gonna grind that flush later on, but that won't be seen. That's gonna be all covered anyways later on. And then really nicely TIG welded there, and then MIG welded up top as well. Perfectly square, right in center of the car. Looks awesome. We pulled it off. Next thing we're gonna do is gonna go ahead and roll up front and finish the rocket bunny install by wide body in that fender. Fender is installed. We've officially got a little bit more than half of a Rocket Bunny kit on this car. It looks phenomenal. It looks so good. This front end, Eric knocked it out of the park, getting all the panel gaps really good. Our new door has great gaps. Everything is just like super straight. And we didn't even try to make it super straight on this time around. Myself and a lot of the guys are really liking the mismatched paint job. If this video gets 10,000 likes, we will bring the car to SEMA just like this. We won't paint it. 10,000 likes, guys. It can happen. We have a car. It's got all the panels are attached. Holy crap.
It looks good.
It looks really good. I think we're officially back on schedule. We got so much stuff done this weekend. It is really incredible. If we're not back on track, I think we're getting really close to being back on track, and the car is coming together so well. I am so excited. 10,000 likes, guys. I don't want to paint this thing. That's a wrap. If you like BS for Build, you want to help out and support, head over to bsforbuild.com. Picking up anything from the shop, all the proceeds go directly towards helping us finish these builds, helping support the builds. And if you want to play a free video game, head over to disfordrift.com. That is our game. Pick it up, iOS and Android. Not on Windows Phone. If you have a Windows Phone, you might want to rethink your life. Anyways, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Please remember to like and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button. Tomorrow.